In today's demo, we're going to go through shared wireless infrastructure and see how we can host multiple customers using the same infrastructure and how we can actually apply different policies to different users or different organizations that are using the same infrastructure. So the setup that we have is basically a Meraki access point that connected to a switch, and then we have a security appliance that's going to be the gateway responsible for releasing the DHCP servers. And as you can see, we're actually going to have our Active Directory / RADIUS server that will be hosted in different sites that will be accessible through the WAN. And as you can see at the bottom right side, we have 3 different customers. What we need to do is allocate a different VLAN for each customer, and we will need to apply kind of like a dedicated policy to every customer to limit their bandwidths. And of course, we can do more than just limiting the bandwidths. So this is kind of like going to be the topology for today's exercise. I do have our dashboard kind of like built and ready to go, as well as our server and Active Directory. So let me just try to get the screen adjusted here. So first of all, we'll look into our dashboard quickly. If I go here to the topology diagram, you'll be able to see that we have our access points connected to a switch, and then here is the security appliance. So this is the network that we have. It's a new network, so there's not much actually configuration happened there, and we're going to configure it from scratch. Maybe just to do like a quick health check into our access points to see if we can ping our RADIUS server from there. So I can see the access point is active. I give it a name, and we have the default SSID being advertised. This is the IP configured. Now I can go to the tools. Let me try to ping my server just to make sure that the connectivity layer 1, layer 2, layer 3 are working. Yep, I can see the average latency is 2 milliseconds, means I can reach out to the server and the server is responding back, which is great. Now, what we can do at the moment is like, let's go and configure our RADIUS server just to be able to kind of like get the server up and running. So the first thing, or the key thing to kind of like check in the server there, I'm using 2012, but if we actually use an Active Directory and a RADIUS server on the same platform, you just need to make sure that the NPS or Network Policy Service is actually installed. If not, you just click on this and go through the process to install it. And once we install this, we should be able to go to our menu from here and look into the Network Policy Server, and basically here where we can configure our RADIUS settings. But before going through the RADIUS setup, let's first kind of like configure different users. So let me close this out. Let's have a look into the users that we need to create. So we said, we're going to have 3 customers, means we're going to put them into 3 different groups, and then every group will have a specific set of users that actually can authenticate as part of this group. So I'm going to use this folder, an empty folder here. I will create the group 1, which I would name this group maybe company 1. I'll take copy that. And now I create another group. I will name it company 2. And then a third group, which basically will be company 3. So now what we've done, we've created 3 groups that we can authenticate separately, so we can let the RADIUS server push every group into different VLAN. Now the next step is to create the users. So I will just create one user per group. So I will call this one is company 1, probably user 1. I give it log name comp 1. Of course, I can create many users in the same group. So I'll just create one just for sake of demonstrating that. Hit finish. So if I double click on this user, I can assign this to the group I've just created now, which is company 1, which basically, as you can see now, I can see that user is part of group or company 1. I'll just go and do the other two quickly, just to make sure that we're actually doing the demonstration as per the setup on the left. So let's name this comp2, put the password, and of course I will need to add this to the group of company 2. Of course, as I mentioned, you can create multiple user per group. It doesn't really matter how many you like. So if you do have like an organization want to actually release more users to every group, that's how you can do it. So this is the last user I want to create now. I'll put a comp3. I'll put the password. I have to move this, and then I need to add it to the group. Alright, by doing this, we actually created our users, we put them in the groups, so I have the users' accounts ready. Now we need to configure our Radius server. So the first thing that we need to do in the Radius server is basically setting up our access point as the client. So if I go here to Radius clients, it will list down all the subnets or the access points that you need to communicate with this Radius server. So because I already have my management AP that I use for my lab there, but I don't have the AP that we're gonna demonstrate on today, so let's create a new client. So by right click on it, get a new client, give it a useful name, so I'll just give it the name that I have on my dashboard. It doesn't need to be the same. Now I need to go and get the IP address. So this is the IP address of my access point. 172.16.55.101. Well, let's go here and put it down. 172.16.55.101. Of course, if you do have a DNS name, then you can put the DNS name and it will resolve the IP address. And then here I just need to put a shared secret. You need to take note of this because we're gonna go to the access point and add this to there. By the way, you don't need to put, of course, just a single IP. If you want to put a range, you can do that as well. So, for this purpose or for this demo purposes, we're just going to use only one AP IP. Now we're actually setting up the Radius to be ready to accept any requests coming. Now we need to put the policy together, like to understand how we should actually expect the information coming from our access points or servers. So that's what we need to do here is we configure basically, if we go to the MPS local, here we can actually how we can configure the Radius server to accept which sort of traffic. So what we need to do, of course, we actually talking about wireless. We can apply the same thing for the wired. So we just choose the wireless option here. Let's configure it. It's going to be the wireless only now. I can give this to the company one. So say, this is for the company one users. I can see my access point is there, so I'll keep it as it is. And then here we need to choose what kind of like authentication method. So I will use here PEAP. Now the groups. So because this is company one, we're going to use the group that we just created for company one, which is named company one too. And basically we say these people that part of this group will get authenticated, or this policy going to apply to them. Now let's go and customize the attributes here for this kind of like group of people. So the first thing that we need to do is the tunnel type. We need to change it or add it to be VLAN, because we need to assign these people to a dedicated VLAN. And then the medium type, we just need to use the .1x Media Plus Ethernet. And here we should specify the VLAN number, which we will say for group 1 or company 1, they will take VLAN number 10. And that's it. Once I hit save, next, finish, then we're pretty much done for company 1 now. So we need just to quickly replicate that for company 2 and 3. So I'm just going to go through the same process quickly. And if you missed anything that we've done while we were doing company 1, it's a good time to review it. Sorry, I just put the same name as before, so this is company 2, same access points. We're going to use PEAP, and then here the group will be company 2, and then we'll configure that. So the difference here, of course, going to be the VLAN. So instead of using VLAN 10, we're going to use VLAN 20. And we quickly finish the third company so we can actually have the 3 groups ready to go. I'll put VLAN here will be 30, it's the only difference, and we're done. So now what we've done, we said, the request coming from company 1, company 2, company 3, of course you can change the order, it doesn't really matter. Basically, this is the request that we're expecting, and here we set up, what kind of policy we're going to push, which basically for this group of people that are going to get authenticated only against this group, we're going to give them specific VLAN. So here is VLAN 10. So that's all what we need to do from the Radius Active Directory perspective. So what we've done, we've created the user accounts, put them in different groups, and then we start to configure the Radius server. We first added our access points into the Radius clients, and then we start to put the policy. So we expect when the user come to authenticate, which VLAN we're going to assign to. Now let's go back to our dashboard and start to actually configure our wireless. So if we go to the SSIDs here, you will see the number of SSIDs that you have. So I have one SSID enabled. Let's go and configure this one. So the first thing that I want to do from here is basically I will use the authentication method to be a Radius, and then I need to put my Radius settings. So I have this already there, which is my Radius server. I have the port, which is used for authentication, which is 1812, and the shared secret, let me put it back here to make sure that we actually have it right. And then all I need to do is hit save. Before I test it, I just need to check a couple of other things quickly. We actually going to use our uplink device to be our DHCP server. So I will put the access point in a bridge mode. We're going to use VLAN tagging, so I'll just put the VLAN tagging to be turned on. And then here the Radius server will actually push the VLAN tags to me, so I need the access point to honor it. So here I can say Radius response can override the VLAN tag. And I hit save. So that means my access point now is ready. All I need to do is to test it out. So I'm just going to test one of the users that we just created. This is my domain name, if I can write it right. And then we have comp1, which is user1. I have the password. If everything that we've done is correct, we should be able to go through, and that should be successful. Fair enough. It's actually here said passed. It tells me actually that this user is part of VLAN 10. So that actually being pushed from my Radius server to my access point now. If I go and test maybe my comp2, which is a user part of company 2, that passed and gave me VLAN 20. And you guessed it, if we do it for VLAN 3, will happen the same thing. So what we've done now is getting our access point, talking to the Radius server. We try to authenticate the user, and then the Radius server responded back with the VLAN that this user should be part of. What we need to do now is this piece, which basically start to have a policy and start have our DHCP server. I'm going to use my security appliance as a DHCP server. So before actually doing anything there, I will just need to create the VLANs, to be able to do the setup that we have. So I will just add a VLAN here. I'll give it a name, which I would say this is for company 1. The subnet, let's put it something like this, so actually be catchy when we look at it, when we test. And then this VLAN ID will be 10. As you can see, a group policy is none at the moment, so we're going to do the group policy in a second, but we just need to create the 3 VLANs for our 3 customers. And the last one will be company 3. So we've created the 3 VLANs now. We set the access point to be on a bridge mode, means the traffic will come to my security appliance to be able to get the IPs. All what I need to do now is to start to create my group policies to maybe limit the traffic. So the exercise here said we need to limit the traffic. So I will name this one here as company 1, and then I will actually use a custom bandwidth. We put it here 1 megabit per second, and I can actually here use the VLAN to be 10 just to firm it. And I'll do the same thing. I will clone it, but basically I will name it here company 2, and I will set this to be 2 megabit per second. Of course, that needs to be 20, the VLAN. And then I can clone this one as well. I will name it company 3. Set it to 3 megabit per probably. Okay, I can hit some details here and put it to be 3. And now I can tag this to be 30, and I'm done. So what we've done now, we've just created the policy. As you can see, each policy can go as deeper as you like, so you can get actually customer network firewall rules and kind of like block allow specific things. So maybe I'll just go here and block anything related to sports for my company 1. Just a quick example what you can do for each individual group. Now I need to go back to my security appliance, to the VLANs, and add this group to every VLAN that we've created. So for group 1, I will here choose company 1, hit update, and same thing for group 2 and group 3. So now everything is ready. What we need to do now is probably testing the setup that we just made. So what I want to do is basically connect up my phone and see if I'll be able to connect to the SSID and go through the process, and hopefully it will work as expected. So this is my phone here. If I actually go now and join the SSID we just created, I need to put username and the password. Will be comp1, and then here I will set my password. Now it's asking me to accept the certificate. I will accept that. I'm now connected. So what I'm supposed to see now is basically, I'm still waiting. The IP should be 11.11.11 something. Here I can see 11.11.11.2, which is great. You remember that we set the bandwidth to be 1 megabit, so let's do a quick speed testing. Hopefully that will work, so we can actually see the bandwidth actually not going beyond 1 megabit per second. Sometimes, when I connect my phone to my laptop, I struggle to get the application work, and also because of the speed limit that I'm putting at 1 megabit, it's actually not helping out to do the testing. So what I can do is basically we can actually go and check my policy again to see if there's anything denying me to access this application. So I'll go here to my group policy, just again to do a sanity check while we're waiting for the speed test to happen. Company one. So it's allowing everything to go through, just only denying this. It's not a big deal. It should theoretically work. While we're actually waiting, so what we can do, we can actually go and test another user and see if we're going to get another IP address. So I'm just going to use comp3 this time. Here I need to go through the same thing to put my username and password. That would be comp3 and the same password. I join, trust. Now we should see it's 33.33.33. As you can see, we now can see ourselves at 33.33.33. Let's try to do the same speed test that we were trying to do before. If the application allows me to work. So again, I guess it's just something, as you can see from the top there, it doesn't actually detect my service provider. So this is something with this speed test application. But once I disconnect my phone from my screen here, I should be able to see the speed test and see that this policy is applied to me. So again, this is basically the exercise that we went through. We got same access point with the same SSID advertising to all our customers. We managed to separate these customers by using our RADIUS server, and the RADIUS server used the Active Directory to authenticate them and pushed the VLANs to separate these users, and we used the network policies to separate the users from each other, plus applying kind of like a customized policy to every one of them. So hopefully that actually helps you to get a good understanding about how we can use the wireless infrastructure in a multi-tenant environment and how we can control our end users. Thanks for watching.